Okay, Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. So we are going to proceed with our webinar session, but we wait for others to join us maybe after 5 minutes, so we can start.
Salam, sure.
Kak Odi. Ada ni, kita tengok kat sini siapa yang join Kak. Dia mati outsider tu. Tadi dah remind lah. Dah remind lah. Semua. Nak join kat sana betul?
Apa tu?
Ya. Boleh dengar tak?
Apa dah tahu? Okey, jawab saya. Tunjuk kat balik. Jangan dia muda yang boleh buat ni, dia orang tua boleh buat ya.
Without. Just let's rest. Okay, let's get started. Yeah, Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. Visiting our webinar today. So my name is Raihan. I'm from marketing department at Aviation College. Okay, now I would like to ask you one question. Here, please answer yes.
Excuse me, Miss Raihan. I believe we listening on your echo.
My
Echo. So I can't hear your voice clearly.
wait.
Aku tak sure.
Now can you hear me?
No.
Cannot.
We can't hear you clearly. Yes, I believe the first startup just now is much better.
Okay, wait. Yeah. Off.
Tengok off.
Sorry for the inconvenience. Can you hear me well right now?
Yes, Miss Raihan, much better.
Okay, thank you. Okay, great. Our topic today is the views of aviation industry post COVID-19, and our speaker is our chairman, Captain Manan. Okay, before we start, let me explain to you on how can you talk to us during this webinar. So if you have any question during the presentation, just write them to chat so that we can answer the question accordingly lah. So without wasting our time, I would like to invite our chairman, Captain Manan, to deliver his presentation. So Captain. Okay.
Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. How are you guys?
Salam Cap, I'm good.
Thank you for joining me this morning. Saturday morning, working. But I believe this is the beginning of the new digital era, and we need to improve our skill on this online seminar and whatnot. Folks, it's nice to see all of you here. I can see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 names on the wall there. So the reason why we want to do this course is that I've got a lot of inquiries, from parents, whatnot, from the bank as well, who is very worried about the situation of the aviation industry in Malaysia right now. So I thought I would spend some 45 minutes to 1 hour talking about this industry. Hopefully we can so-called settle down the so-called negative opinions of the people.
Dia buat seminar.
Industry.
Dia bagi
So let me introduce myself.
Seminar lah.
My name is Abdul
seminar bahasa
Manan.
Melayu.
I'm the founder as well as the chairman of the Aviation of Management College, Malaysia. We have been around for the last 13 years, 13 years. So it's quite a time frame. And we have got about 1,000 students, of which 10% of them are foreign students, And these foreign students come from 18 countries throughout the world, including UK, Finland, and of course the latest one is Russia. And we are very happy and proud of the fact that these countries, students from these countries would like to study in Malaysia in our college. So after being in this college for the last 13 years or so, I believe we have knowledge about the aviation industry, especially when we are conducting the Buckinghamshire New University Bachelor in Airline and Airport Management for our students. Yeah. So let's look why we want to do this webinar. Like I mentioned earlier, so many parents, so many people, even the bankers, are asking us, what do you think of this aviation industry going to be? So I keep telling them we're going to be all right, but somehow or other my persistent command that it's going to be all right doesn't seem to reduce the anxiety that these people have. For your information, we have got 4 banks, rejecting our bank loan request. Could you believe that? In spite of the fact that we have got good track record for the last 10 years, but they still want to hold back our loan request because they're not quite sure of the aviation industry. Yeah, and true enough, if you were to Google up, and you see the amount of information that we have in the internet, with regards to the aviation industry. Yeah, it's displayed now in the panel there. Yeah. The pandemic crisis worsened globally, the world economic situation, in June 2020, financial economic crisis and developing countries, the great lockdown, worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. So this statement has not made the anxiety of the people reduce. Yeah. So I believe we need to have some holistic study on this issue, so that people, the leaders, and the advisors will have some better understanding what aviation industry is all about and what we could do, to overcome this situation. Yeah. Remember, the aviation industry has been around for the last 100 years. If you were to read history, 100 years ago when the Wright brothers started flying in US. But the commercial part of the aviation industry really started after the Second World War, in 1945. Yeah, in 1944, ICAO was set up. And that is where the civil aviation industry started up. Yeah, so it is about what, 50 plus 20, that was 75 years industry, so it's not that long. Yeah. But nevertheless, the industry has grown, from lips to tongue. So many airlines purchased, manufactured, And you can see Boeing and Airbus are the two main competitors, manufacturers of aircraft in the world now. Everybody is rushing to produce aircraft. And this is arising from the open sky policy that people have adopted, the nation has adopted. If you're familiar with open sky policy, meaning I can cross your border, yeah, you can cross my border and pick up passengers and fly back to your country, or overfly your country to a third country. Yeah, there's no stop rate. Previously, you can't do that. You couldn't do that previously, but now most airlines, when they apply for the third freedom or the fifth freedom, they can get it by the host country, simply because airline is an infrastructure. Yeah, an airline is infrastructure. Can you believe, can you imagine if you were to build roads to get your country connected to a third country, it could have cost you a bomb. Yeah, but with an airline, with a flight available from point A to point B, across the border, people will be able to transfer, will be able to travel, and the economy will eventually correspondingly picking up. Okay, so that's the reason why we want to explain this. With all the negativity going on around the world now, and it doesn't seem to stop with the new cases coming up from all over the world. Okay, right?
Okay,
Yeah, that's answer your first question.
Yeah.
Why we're doing this?
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Capt. Great. Okay. Our next question. My next question is, in your opinion, what is the magnitude of the aviation industry?
All right. Good. It's always good to have some idea how big this industry is, and what could it do? Could it do to the world community? Now, let me just express that like I mentioned earlier, because it's a major infrastructure, the main infrastructure now for people to move around. Now, aviation industry, civil aviation industry is a huge, and it's a myriad logistic industry. Yes, it's a very highly technical industry. It's got to do with the weather forecast, it's got to do with the space, and requirement, it's got to do with the airport's requirements, standards, and all that. So it is a very, very highly regulated industry with a scientific knowledge needed to be applied for you to be able to work in the industry. Yeah. So the STEM, the science, technical engineering, and mathematics requirement is very, very high. Yeah. It involves the manufacturing of aircraft. Yeah. Most countries like Europe and America, and of course Brazil and Russia and China is also becoming one of the major producers of aircraft, involve the maintenance of the aircraft. I would believe 1/4 of your operating costs would be attributed to maintenance of the aircraft. And aircraft maintenance is a compulsory maintenance. It's not something like you buy a car, you can either maintain it or you don't want to service it, it's up to you, But in aircraft, no. You need to maintain the aircraft at a specific time, at a specific duration, regardless whether the aircraft is flyable or not. Yeah, that's how the industry works. And then, of course, the flying of the aircraft itself, Yeah, you got to fly the aircraft in order to make the logistic works. Yeah, and this involves the airport operations. Yeah, it involves the passenger movement, millions and millions of passenger movements, and it also involves with the cargo movements. Cargo movements from one point to another point. And more countries now who are doing e-commerce are using this aircraft, for the logistic for the cargos. And in that process, you have also got to collect the revenues, from all over the world. So your forex exchange and foreign exchange knowledge is required. Your financial and accounting knowledge is required, and so many other things that is required. Your leasing knowledge is required in order for you to be able to sustain this industry. Yeah, very big, multifaceted skill that is required, and that is why we need to study all this in the college so that we can become one of the factor or the power in the industry. Now, if we just compare with Malaysia and Singapore, Singapore revenue from the aviation industry is 3 times more than Malaysia. Would you believe that? And Malaysia is almost what? 50 times bigger than Singapore in terms of land. Population is about 6 times more. But yet the revenue on aviation industry is 3 times more than Malaysia. In spite of the fact that they have got only 2 or 3 airports, operating, and we have got 24 international airports, operating in Malaysia. Now, why is it that Singapore can produce 3 times more revenue or economy from the aviation industry? Because the people down there are more learned, on the industries with regards to the one I mentioned earlier. Yeah, they're more knowledgeable. Yeah, and of course the other attributary factors is the tourism industry, the tourism industry and all that. Okay.
Okay.
So the total aircraft that we have around the world right now, I did a small research, is about 20,000 aircraft, and the value roughly is about $3 trillion around the world, So it's quite a big infrastructure, and it's quite a costly infrastructure. 3 trillion, it's quite huge US dollars, and total revenue collected from the passengers or from the business is about 1.8 trillion per year. Yeah. So it's not bad, you have 3 trillion assets, and you are contributing or you are generating 1.8 trillion per year in revenue. That's not too bad. So your infrastructure spending is well invested, if you look at it, because within the 2 years you can recover back your investment on the asset, And aircraft normally will last about 10 to 20 years, If you take care of it, you can use it for 20 years, Yeah. So your ROI and your paybacks, on your investment for the aircraft is justifiable. Okay. And of course, you calculate the people around the world who is doing this, working in the industry is about 100 million. Yeah, 100 million. And of course, America has got the largest population of people involved in the industry. Yeah. And so is a country like China, who's growing up the economy, yeah, it's also catching up. So it is a huge industry, yeah, the huge industry. Can you imagine a country like Indonesia, who has got 17,000 islands, or the Philippines, which has got about 10,000 islands, to get them connected with one island, you can't build a road, yeah, and you can't use the boat because the boat is so slow and so costly. Yeah. You need the aircraft, you need the airline industry, yeah, to develop your economy, whatever it is. A classic example of this is Maldives. If you were to go to Maldives, they got hundreds of islands there, and it's all producing economic activities by tourism, because the beaches are just extraordinary. And they use aircraft, used to travel from one island to another island, even though it's a short distance. Maldives has got the largest amphibian airline in the world, yeah, and because of that, their people are very, very much better off than Malaysia, yeah, compared to the subcontinent and people, yeah, which is Sri Lanka, India, Bangladesh, and Pakistan. Maldives has got a better economic standing because of the aviation industry. Okay, right?
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Such a good sharing. Okay, thank you, Cap. So just to want to remind you guys, if you have any question, please ask question in the chat box so that we can answer it accordingly later. So my next question is, as everyone knows that we have been experiencing some hard time this year due to COVID-19. So based on your opinion, Cap, what is the impact of COVID-19?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, because when we hit a crisis or we hit a wall, it's really good to see what's the impact. Now, I've done some research, especially with the data. This was in last June data. Yeah. Now, surprisingly, the impact is not so bad. The impact is not so bad. So the ITA data as of June, the total losses is just about 84 billion. And then the demand losses, of course, it dropped by 54% because people could not fly. The borders are closed, And the total flight cancel, that's about 7.5 million. When you close down the borders, nobody can fly, and that goes up, And of course, the total revenue losses is 419 billion. This was in June, 3 months after the crisis was exploded. So 400 billion compared to the 1.8 trillion just now. So that's about what? So 20%, of the industry affected. Not too bad, not too bad, considering the fact that the whole economy has been closed. People can't move up, and the negativity of the industry is there. So, well, of course, we got to take action. We got to have a control system in place. What is the corrective action? What is the remedy? And we need to do it fast. I think we cannot depend this totally on the Ministry of Health per se, or the Ketua Pengarah of Kesihatan to do all the thinking. Joking. Poor guy can't sleep. The other people in the Malaysia, we use our thinking skill and thinking hats and put our cap on or hats on and come up with some ideas. How we can impose control and then get the border to open up again. I hope so. I hope so. With this announcement or with these ideas, some of it will be taken by the government, and we can see what we can do to reduce the impact. Okay, right?
Okay.
Right.
Thank you, Capt, for answering the question. So, besides COVID-19, what are the previous disasters affecting aviation?
I've been around for 71 years. That's my age, So I've been around and see what's happening in the past. Now, if you can still remember the Yom Kippur War, between Israel and the Arab countries in 1973, that was done during the fasting month. I remember that I was in the Air Force, and suddenly the war broke off in the Middle East. The Israel people just, not Israel, Israel, they came and invaded Syria, Egypt in Sinai, and Jordan in the West Bank, and then Syria, the Golden Heights, and the Arab people cooperated, and they form up OPEC, and then they just push the price up. And what happened? All the airlines get into trouble because the price of fuel went up from $1, per liter, not $1 per liter, $1 per barrel. It went up to $10 per barrel within a span of a few months. And then a lot of airlines went bankrupt because of that. But still, we recover. And you know what's the price of fuel now? It was $1 per barrel before, 50 cents per barrel before in 73. Now it's about $40 or $50 per barrel. And just 3 or 4 years ago, it was about $100 per barrel. We still survive. The aviation industry is still growing. So no issue. And the other great incident was in America, 9/11. I was in the middle of watching the news at 9 o'clock in Malaysia, and I could see suddenly the news was turned to America Twin Tower, where I saw the two aircraft, went down and dived into the two twin building, and within a span of 2 hours or 3 hours, the building just collapsed to the ground. And that incident, imposed a lot of frightening mentality to America. Many of the airlines in America closed down because of that, But then again, after a few years, America went back, goes back to what it is today, the biggest aviation industry in the world. And of course, in Asia, we have got the SARS, This is another flu where it started with an animal, even affect Malaysia, and it spread in Asian countries, including Malaysia, including Indonesia, Singapore, and China. We overcome that, and we are back to square one, after a few years. So I do believe that the COVID-19 will also have the same cycle, We got to work. We got to be ingenuity. We got to be innovative, in order to overcome this crisis that we are going through now. Okay, so no problem. The three incidents I mentioned to you were also a big issues at the time. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Cap, for sharing. Okay, based on what you mentioned just now, the disasters affecting aviation. So what are the criteria to recover this?
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So I've got a slide there. One of the key factors to recover. Yeah. I think many of you would have known it by now. Especially you lecturers. So it is a basic need for human to travel. Yeah, basic needs, just like food, is a basic needs. Travel is also a basic needs. Yeah, you can't hold a person to one place, without moving. It's just impossible, especially in the globalized world right now. In Malaysia, we marry foreign people, we marry Sabah and Sarawak people, and vice versa. We need to travel, and you stop people from traveling, that will be bad. Yeah, morally. Yeah, psychologically, people need to travel. Yeah, for their well-being, social well-being, at the same time also for the economic well-being. You got to make decision by traveling. If you don't allow people to travel, they cannot make a good decision. People must be at the side of the industry or the activities, to make a good decision. Yeah, so people need to travel. Yeah. And like I mentioned earlier, like Indonesia, we've got 17,000 islands, Philippines 10,000 islands. If they don't travel, then they cannot make a good decision. Yeah. So to do that, to travel, you need to open the borders again. Yeah, open the borders again. I know it's difficult. A lot of people are worried, all that. But we have been opening our borders for many, many years, 75 years right now. I say no problem. Yeah, no problem. So people must be allowed to fly again, Of course, with all the imposed condition. You remember in 1970s, people have been traveling without any checks, But then again, after the lockdown, yeah, where people hijack the aircraft and threw the bomb, yeah, from Libya, and then this go and bomb the place in Scotland, and the whole aircraft, blew up in pieces. We impose regulations, and that's why now when we are flying, we get people to get a security to check your body, to check your luggage and all that. You have to do it. No choice. You want to fly. Same thing with COVID-19. We have to do it. We have to do it. No choice. Yeah. So the airline must be allowed to fly again with the condition imposed, just like the hijack issues and the bomb issues like before. Yeah. And then the pandemic must slow down. Yeah. How do we slow down the pandemic? Of course, the health people can advise us, But COVID-19 is basically a flu, Now we've got almost 10,000 people affected by COVID-19, and how many people died? Not even 1.5% of it died. No, this is not even, you compare this with cancer, you compare it with heart attack, you compare this with stroke, which death rates are much, much higher, COVID-19 is just 1.5%, very low, meaning every 100 people got the COVID-19, only 1 people will die, 1.5 people will die. That's how the statistics is, Of course, you can argue on the fact that people have been controlled to move around and all that. True enough. So we have learned this for the last 4 months, So we have to impose this, This is what they call the new behavior, a new culture that we need to adopt. Until and unless we recover, until and when we discover how to kill that virus in total. Yeah. And vaccine must be discovered fast. Yeah. And I believe Russia and China have discovered the vaccine and they've tested it on a patient people. Now I think it's the third stage testing now. And even in Russia, the President Putin claiming that they have used it even to his daughter. So for a president to say that my daughter now is being injected with the vaccine, that shows how confident the Russians are with regards to the vaccine. And China has approved an order from Indonesia, 40 million jabs, for the vaccines export to Indonesia, and Indonesia was testing it on their people, which is good news. Yeah. And then one thing that we need to do also is a test. Right now, test will take 1 day to get the result. That's crazy. We must get the result there and then. I'm sure this is much easier than finding the vaccine. What I mean is that when somebody land at the airport, you do a random test on these people, and the moment you test him, you know that he has got COVID-19. Then you quarantine him, at the airport itself. Yeah. Now, if the test system can be found faster compared to now, 1 day, 2 or 3 days, we can overcome all these factors. Yeah, overcome these diseases. Yeah. So we need to have this. Yeah, all these things before we can open up the border. Okay, right?
Okay, thank you, Capt. Okay, I hope let's pray for the best for aviation industry to recover. So my last question is, what do you see the new trends of aviation industry?
Yeah, like I mentioned, in any activity that we do, we must have a control functions. Yeah, you study management, you need to have a control functions. You're in the government, you need to impose control function every now and then as we evolve into a new system or new technology or new trends or new challenges, control system comes in. This is part and parcel of living. Yeah, part and parcel of living. And if we have to do it, we have to do it. Yeah, that's life. Yeah, that's life. So airlines are going bankrupt all over the world. I've seen that a lot. Especially those who are very highly geared. Yeah, those who buy aircraft and then they go bank up the nose, so to say. Now, if you do that, your cash flow is bad. You can't even sustain 2 months or 3 months without flying. I think the days when you start an airline with a very highly geared company, high geared borrowing is no more there. Yeah, no. An airline to start up now, you must have at least 3 months cash flow to sustain, because we don't know what's next after COVID-19. Yeah, just like a bank, you must have a special reserve in your system, before you're given a license. I think airlines too need to have certain amount of cash, in their system, so that if they are hit with this kind of diseases, in future, they are able at least to sustain for 3 months. Yeah. Okay. And then this idea of ordering 300 or 200 aircraft in one go, try to get the cheap price or gearing, whatever they call it, it's got to stop. You are imposing too much stake on the manufacturer, and they have to boost up or beef up their manpower and all that, and suddenly the order stop coming in, and they also suffer. So maybe the manufacturer now have to relook, at the numbers of aircraft ordering before you go for numbers like 1,000, 2,000 aircraft to be built in the span of 5 years and all that, and suddenly this thing comes up, and the customer didn't take the order, and you're in big trouble, has got to stop. Yeah, maybe you can only order 10% of what you ordered before, or 200-300 and all that, and then you make the manufacturer work like a dog, and then you don't take the aircraft order, and it's bad. They will also suffer. And of course, in any business, cash flow management is paramount. Yeah, your cash is your blood. If you don't have enough cash, you don't have enough blood, you will die. Simple as that. Yeah. Cash flow management. This is where the financial people need to monitor closely. And next, of course, the passengers. I remember when I was young, when I went to Mecca to do my umrah and all that, the Saudi were insisting on me bringing out my medical card. Yeah. So in my medical card, I got meningitis jab and I've got cholera jab, And with this card, only if it's endorsed by a doctor, would I be able to enter Saudi Arabia. That was 1970s, Got no choice. And cholera jab can be painful, You get a fever the next day after jab, But You want to do it, you got to do it. You want to travel, you got to do it, you got to do it. Yeah. So passengers may need to bring a medical card nowadays, and with the jab require. For this instance, it could be a COVID-19 jab. Yeah. You got to face this hurdle a bit, but I don't think it's going to be a big problem that is going to stop the industry from growing. Yeah. So medical card is one of them, and China and Russia has tested the vaccine, yeah, and they should be ready by December. That's what the press is saying. And Indonesia yesterday ordered 40 million doses of COVID-19. They signed a contract. I think Indonesia are moving very fast now. See what you like about them, huh? The fact that they have ordered 40 million jabs, that's the fastest way and the easiest way and the cheapest way to control the pandemic from spreading. All this putting them in the hospital and quarantine them for 14 days, it's going to cost you a bomb. But the jab is just a few cents away. I've checked that out. Few cents per jab. It's just 4 microgram. You order that and you jab these people. I think you can control the spread, the pandemic much more economically. Yeah. And by December they say they could get the vaccine out to the market, and we better order ourselves now. Instead of waiting. For what? Yeah. Well, the price is too cheap. Yeah. And CIQ will include COVID-19 tests. No more just walk in like that. So you don't need to bring the car. The airport need to be ready. With the COVID-19 test. And this is what I mentioned earlier. We can do the test within an hour. You get the results. Those people who show a symptom of fever or coughing or chest pain and all that, you can see their body language. As they walk in. You can send them for testing. Yeah. And then if they confirm got it within that test, you pull him. Yeah. And of course, since he brought the disease himself, he has to pay for all those tests and quarantine costs. And if people know that they have to pay for all this, if they have got COVID, they won't come. So that's a form of control itself. Yeah. And then of course, insurance. Insurance can be very creative. They can cover everything. Before you travel. Yeah. Maybe one of the diseases that they should cover is COVID-19. Yeah. COVID-19, and then make sure that when you go overseas, the insurance cover this kind of diseases. Yeah. This kind of disease. Okay. And if you ask me, playing at the current times now, playing at the current scenario, I think we should be all right. By middle of next year. We should be all right by middle of next year. Right now, also in KL, the traffic movement has gone up to about 30% of the pre-COVID. 30%. So we got another 70% to go. Yeah, and before the end of this year, I would say we were going to hit another 70%. China has hit 80%. Vietnam has hit 80% in the domestic flight and all that. Yeah. So Malaysia should hit 70-80% by end of this year. By mid next year, we should go back to our normal routine. Inshallah, God willing. Yeah. So I'm very, very optimistic on the aviation industry, simply because it's basic needs for people to travel. Yeah. Basic needs for people to gear the economy. Yeah. Basic needs for people to socialize. And part of the balance in life, to move around. So we will sustain and we will continue to grow, And what the airline is doing now, looking for a cheaper engine, cheaper way to fly. If we can discover, sooner than later, traveling will be more cheaper with the airline. You know that now engines are made with water.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
In Japan, in China, car engines are being looked into running using water for their fuel. They call it hydrocarbon. Water is H2O again, so that's oxidized hydrocarbon. So there are cars now run by water, But I won't be surprised in a couple of years' time, aircraft engines too will be run by water. The day that it comes when the engine runs by water, is the day when you don't have to worry, about paying high price for the tickets and all that, and flying will be reduced, with the fuel costs. I mean, with the fuel costs going to be reduced tremendously, more and more people will fly, more and more people will fly. I know that it will happen, with the technology that we're having right now. People are not using aluminum anymore for the aircraft, folks. They're using composite. And what is composite? It's plastic. But plastic with a very strong strength. And plastic is you can't ban it, and plastic because it is light. Can you imagine that you have a strong body, airframe, light, and with the engine, generally run by water? I tell you, the industry is going to grow and grow, Eventually, country will be connected more and more with aircraft rather than with roads or with ships. So I am very, very confident that the industry will recover sooner than later. So don't worry, parents, aviators, just do our part, and get the technologies and the government and the power that be, the regulators, to think out of the box, and come up with the remedy or with the control system so that the economy and the aviation industry can go back to its normal self like before. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you,
Right.
Thank you, Captain, for sharing. It's such a good info. I believe, based on Captain said just now, aviation industry will recover soon. So I would like to proceed with the Q&A session. So basically, let me check first. Okay, one from Diana. Okay, dear Cap, first of all, thank you so much for your sharing session in this interesting topic. The question is, I would like to know, based on your observation, what would be the best way in restoring the passenger confidence in the health and safety of flying due to COVID-19?
Okay.
So from Diana.
Okay. Odi,
Yeah.
Okay, Odi. Maybe you written it earlier than my slide just now.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned earlier, health certificate need to be imposed on our passengers. Just like during my time when I want to go to Haji, I've got a health certificate. And people have got to be jabbed with the vaccine of the COVID-19 before they can fly. And number two, the CIQ process at the airport. Maybe you need to impose on the COVID-19 test at random, not on everybody, the moment the scanner tested that you are having a fever and you sign of coughing and all that, you're struggling with your breath and all that, boom, ask them to do a test, COVID test, And this is why just now I propagated on having the test to be recovered within an hour or so instead of 1 day right now. Right now, the earliest is 1 day, to get the result. Before it was 1 week, now it's 1 day. If you can get it within an hour or so, that will solve a lot of these problem people wandering around with the virus in their bodies. Okay, I hope that answers your question.
Okay. Thank you, Cap. Okay, our next question from Ahmad Rashid. Okay, should the aviation players ask Capt to have a moratorium on their fees for a certain period during the pandemic recovery period to relieve the aviation industry? So what do you think?
Of course, man. Capt is a government agencies, and then I know your insurance. I mean, your license fees are a lot, just like the other government agencies, where they reduce their fees, to cover our hardship right now. I think Capt should do that likewise, So maybe we can write to the minister, the Honorable Wiki Capt, ask them to reduce the fee. That would be wonderful. You can reduce the fees now that I know. Even for our license application now, we're paying 5,000 ringgit now. Just to get the license, which we do not know whether we can get it or not. And for small people like us, SME, 5,000 ringgit is a lot of money. I agree with you, Matt. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for answering the question from Ahmad Rashid. Okay, so is there any question from you guys?
Any more questions?
Any more question? Okay, one from Muhammad Nurul Fakir.
Oh yes.
Okay. How do you see the impacts of COVID-19 towards MRO industry specifically?
Oh yeah, there will be an impact, Aircraft not flying, so aircraft will not be services. Yeah, it's reciprocal. It will be an impact. But then again, you must remember during the downturn, during the lockdown, of course, there will be no MRO, But let me assure you, the moment the aircraft is flying back, because of the facts I mentioned earlier, the demand is higher, the price is getting lower, and all that, the MRO industry will cash back, because aircraft maintenance is a regulatory requirement. You've got to send the aircraft for maintenance, And one of the reasons why Singapore has got a 3 times higher revenue or economic impact than Malaysia, because in Singapore there are a lot of MRO, I know for a fact that a lot of Malaysian aircraft, registered aircraft, are sent to Singapore for maintenance. That's sad, isn't it? Yeah. I did that when I was flying the commercial helicopters 40 years ago, and we are still sending aircraft to Singapore for maintenance. Because why? Because they are efficient. Because why? Because they are cheaper. Because why? They have got the technology. So the MRO in Malaysia just need to overcome these factors, And I'm sure, people will come to Malaysia and do their maintenance. I think SAE, Sabang Aircraft Engineering, is doing that. But then again, SAE belongs to a foreigner. If only Malaysia can take over, and do it, and the money will be retained in this country, they will boost up our GDP, and boost up our income as well. We need to grow, because otherwise, I pity you guys, coming up from the universities and you're earning not even 1/2 of what I was earning 51 years ago when I came out from RMC, in terms of purchasing power, So we need to grow, and when we need to grow, we need to value add. Our working need to value add. We need to add value, and getting the MRO to be remaining in Malaysia, and we do it ourselves, is one way. Okay. We can do it.
Inshallah. Okay, I hope that answer your question, Muhammad Nur Fakir. So, any more question? Is there any questions? Okay, looks like we have answered all your questions. Captain, is there anything else you would like to mention before I end this webinar?
Yes, right, of course, Thank you guys, folks, for listening. Thank you for asking questions. This is also a learning process for us, This is the first time I'm using Zoom, to do a webinar, to disseminate information, And I hope the industry will recover very soon, and I'm confident the industry will recover very soon by the fact that the vaccine has been produced by China and Russia, and by the fact that Indonesia has just ordered, 40 million worth of dosages, for the vaccine. So yes, I'm very optimistic. Yes, I'm very eager to move forward. Yes, in AMC itself, we are going to continue with our drone project. We're going to build a manned drone, with the help of third party, and study aviation. Let us be more competitive, as Singaporeans. Let us be more knowledgeable, Join Aviation Management College, and let's make Malaysia, one of the best economy country, and place to stay. So, folks, right?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Captain.
Bye.
Okay.
Assalamualaikum.
Okay, thank you, Captain, for such a wonderful talk about the aviation industry post COVID-19. Okay, before I end this webinar, I would like to share with you guys some info. So our next intake for our diploma and degree program is on September 2020. The date is 28 September. So for those who are interested to join our college, please register at our website www.aviation.edu.my/register, and our counselor will contact you shortly. So do join us now. Don't worry about the aviation industry. We will recover soon, as mentioned by Captain Abdul Manan. So thank you for participating in today's webinar session. We hope to see you guys again in our next time webinar. So thank you and have a nice day, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.